The Migliarino, San Rossore and Massaciuccoli Regional Park. The Migliarino, San Rossore and Massaciuccoli Regional Park is a protected nature area in Tuscany. It is a very large park full of things to see and do. Imagine a space covered by woods, 30 kilometres of beaches with sand dunes, rivers, streams and marshes where thousands of species of animals, birds, insects and amphibians live. It is a safe and protected place for them to grow and to breed. This is why there are some areas of the park that you can only visit by booking a guided tour. The park covers a long strip of coastline between the regions of Pisa and Lucca, including several municipalities such as Viareggio, Vecchiano, San Giuliano Terme, Massarosa and Livorno. Along the coast you can find both beach resorts with sunbeds and umbrellas, as well as nature reserves which have been left in their wild natural state, beaches with sand dunes like La Lecciona, La Bufalina and Bocca di Cerchio. Alongside these beautiful beaches, the park also has lots and lots of woods and forests. For example, the forest of Tombolo or the forest of Migliarino and the lake of Massaciuccoli. Right here in this park, you will find both the mouth of the River Arno and the mouth of the River Cerchio. It's here where these two large rivers end and lead into the sea. A large part of the park is almost completely covered by marshland. This means areas where water has covered the ground. It's here, in the marshes, where we can spot some wonderful bird species. There is in fact a haven in the park completely dedicated to the protection of birds, where you can see species like the grey heron with its thin legs, long neck and yellow beak, the great white egret and the little egret with its very long black legs used for moving easily in high water. You can also see waders, gulls, ducks and cormorants too, with their jet black feathers and large yellow beaks, ready to catch big fish found in the lagoon and eat them whole. This is a particularly important area because it's only here that the Kentish plover, a small shorebird at risk of becoming extinct, has found the perfect habitat to nest and breed. One quite special feature of this park is the collection of tiny islands of Le Secche della Meloria. In this marine protected area, you can see groups of rocks which rise up from the water. Here, the seabed is literally covered by a seagrass called Posidonia. It looks just like an underwater meadow, with tall blades of grass rising and falling with the waves. The underwater landscape is full of life and colour. It was in these exact waters in 1284 that a famous battle took place between the maritime republics or port cities of Genova and Pisa. It was also here in 1722, in the deep waters of Meloria, that the heads of 4 bronze Renaissance statues were found, possibly lost by the ship transporting them. These heads, the Bronzi della Meloria, are today preserved at the National Archaeological Museum in Florence. Heading further into the park, we can walk through ancient woods, hundreds of years old. There are poplar trees with their fine leaves, alder trees, ash trees, evergreen home oak trees, and maritime pines, easily recognised by their tall trunks and round clusters of needles at the top. Initially, pine forests were planted for hunting, but gradually, over the centuries, they were used for wood and pine nut production. In these woods, if you're lucky, you can come across a large range of animals, such as fallow deer, wild boar, wild rabbits and red foxes. Recently, these woods have also become home to wolves. If we were looking at this area of parkland from the air, we would see large lagoons amidst woods and forests, and we would also see long beaches with sand dunes along the coast. What is interesting about these dunes is that often they are covered in flowers. Plants and brightly coloured flowers grow right in the middle of the sand to create a unique scrubland. Amongst the dunes, we may find some sea daffodils with their white flowers that open up like a cup, sea mayweed covered in white flowers that look just like daisies, or some of the plants from the orchid family. In 1500, the Medici family, a very important family at the time who ruled the city of Florence, decided to establish themselves in these magnificent surroundings, and the park became their hunting reserve. Gradually, during that time, farms were set up and farmers would work on the land in the park. The farming tradition is still very present in the park. In fact, even today, one of the experiences you can enjoy here is to visit the different farms and taste their produce. On many of the farms, they raise free-range animals like Macese sheep and Mucco Pisano cows, both local Tuscan breeds, and you can buy their fresh milk or pecorino cheese. In the areas with more water, fruit and vegetables like spinach, tomatoes, cabbage and melons are grown. Nearer the beaches, they make honey and harvest pine nuts, which are used in so many of their delicious sweet cakes and pastries made in this region. We mentioned before that the beaches here are made of sand dunes. As we know, in the dunes of the desert, you would expect to find camels with 2 humps on their backs, or dromedaries with only 1 hump. It might sound strange, but a very long time ago, dromedaries actually lived here in this park for over 300 years. The first dromedary arrived in 1622, possibly sent as a gift to the Grand Duke of Tuscany, Fernando II de' Medici. It adapted so well to living here that the Grand Duke had more sent over from Africa. It was also a way for the Grand Duke to show everyone how powerful he was, because he had animals that no one had ever seen before. Over time, these dromedaries became famous across the whole of Europe and were ridden by princesses, nobles, kings and queens. By the end of the 19th century, there were much fewer dromedaries in the park, and their numbers continued to reduce. Today, there are still 3 dromedaries that live here freely. There are so many different activities to do in the park, and thanks to a great network of pathways, you can decide to discover it all on foot, on bike, on horseback, or on a special train or bus. Another very unique way to visit some of the park is by canoe or small boat, taking you on a very special route. Travelling through the rivers and marshlands, it might feel like you're in Vietnam, far away in the east. The San Rossore estate is at the heart of the park, and here you will find the visitors centre and the starting point for many of the trails, for the guided tours and for the little train. This is also where you can hire bikes and where you can get all the information you need to venture into the park. As soon as you start to explore between the pine forests and wide meadows, you will find silence wherever you go. As you stroll through the park, you will most likely come across a very curious building, which is actually raised off the ground and looks a bit like a spaceship. This is Villa del Gombo. It was in this part of the park that the Lorena family, another family of Grand Dukes that ruled Florence, built some areas for swimming, which became very popular with the high society of Pisa and Tuscany of that time. Singers, musicians and other well-known figures would visit regularly to sunbathe, to swim and to enjoy the fresh air. After the unification of Italy, even the Savoy family, who then ruled the whole country, fell in love with this place so much that they built a chalet here. During the Second World War, the chalet was destroyed by the retreating Germans, but towards the end of the 1950s, it was rebuilt as Villa del Gombo, as a symbol of a new beginning. The structure was something new for that time, with its large glass windows and 4 steel supports, literally raising it off the ground. We've been speaking a lot about this San Rossore park, but who was San Rossore, and why are the park and the estate named after him? It actually relates to a certain San Lussurio, a Roman official, originally from Cagliari, who had converted to Christianity. Pisans, being great explorers and sailors, would come back to Pisa bringing relics of San Lussurio, introducing the rituals of the saint to this area. A church and a monastery were built in dedication to the saint, and because the relics were kept for so long here in the park itself was named after him. From Lussurio, the name became Rossore, due to a number of incorrect transcripts of the name in various manuscripts over the centuries. Whether you decide to set off on foot with a backpack, explore the beaches with a guided tour, or take an adventurous canoe trip, the Migliarino, San Rossore and Massaciucoli Regional Park is the perfect place to look up at the sky between the treetops and drink in the magnificent beauty of nature. The Parks, A Listening Journey, is a project of 6 podcasts using accessible language created to share fun facts, stories, myths and legends, and provide information on the wildlife of 6 great protected areas of Tuscany, a journey for all.